Friday morning, October the 1st, sitting in the harbor on my yacht, Cuttie's Yacht Club at 31st and Lakeshore Drive. I consider the two most important accomplishments in my life was fathering two children. Firstborn was Cusha Warren Bacon, born in 1962, March. I was a senior in college. Her mother, Mary Lucille Jameson Bacon, had recently finished college, had taught a year in Chicago, and I was a senior graduating from Kentucky State University. She was a dream girl. She was a beautiful girl, a smart girl, she is, and she was, of course, the love of my life. Being the firstborn, there's always a special relationship that fathers have with girls. Being young, about 22 when she was born, needless to say, I'd had no previous training in fatherhood other than being a surrogate father for many of my younger brothers and sisters. I can't exactly say I was ready for a daughter, but I didn't have a choice. I had this wonderful, smiling, beautiful daughter, apple of my eyes and apple of her mother's eyes, smart as a whip and cute as a whip, and of course, I thought there was nothing in the world like her. I then finished college, Kentucky State University, immediately moved to Chicago with her and her mother, lived at 51st and Prairie in a kitchenette, about 500 square feet, immediately behind the L tracks. It was my first time living in Chicago. It was a total culture shock for me. I shall never forget, I finished college 1st of June on a Sunday, boarded a Greyhound bus. I was in Chicago Sunday night so that I'd have a job. I'd already been up at spring break and got a job as a bus driver at CTA because I knew it would take me time to get a professional job at that time. Arriving on Sunday evening and arriving at CTA bus barn at Kedzie and Van Buren as a bus driver trainee on Monday morning so that I'd have income to support my family. At that time, my mother was teaching on vacation for the summer, so it was my time to take up the banner and support the family by driving a CTA bus on the west side in a trolley. This was in 1963, June of 1963. I knew nothing about Chicago. They assured me after 2 weeks of training, I could take a bus anywhere I wanted to go in Chicago, and they were right. The great benefits of being a bus driver for CTA in Chicago, it was good pay, it paid more than teaching school, and I could work extra hours and make additional money. I immediately got my driver's license for bus driving, and in 2 weeks, I was doing bus routes on Madison, Jackson, Washington, Kedzie and Roosevelt Road out of the Van Buren station. It was a total shock because the west side was known as being not exactly the most friendly, hospitable, high-income side of town.
Especially in 1963.
In 63. I remember within a week, one of my bus friends told me, driver friends told me, that one of the guys in front of me had been cut, and said he got cut because the guy got on the bus. Then the bus fare was only 25 cents, and said he was not paying his bus fare. The driver got into the argument with him, and before he knew it, he had been cut upside his neck with a straight razor, and of course the guy didn't pay his bus fare and went on about his business. My bus driver friend advised me, should anyone board my bus and say they're not paying, say, yes, sir, please have a seat. Do not argue with bus fares for 25 cents. It wasn't worth getting cut or beat up about. for 5 months until I found a professional job. I drove bus. I learned Chicago inside and out. Many of my friends who went to college with me would call me and ask me for directions on places, how to get to places on the bus. In those days, it didn't have a car. Following the next year, within a year and a half, my wife was pregnant again with a second son, Cuttie William Bacon IV. I was delighted. He was born 1964 in September. I was delighted to get a son because I'd always wanted a son to carry on the legacy of the Cuttie Bacon name, and of course to be Cuttie Bacon IV. I thought it sounded royalty, and I was absolutely delighted. Due to a struggle to make ends meet and to survive in Chicago wasn't easy. Within a year, we had moved from our kitchenette to a 3-bedroom gray stone apartment in 78th and Normal, where we lived for some months. And unfortunately, after a few months, we agreed to divorce. With 2 children in my 20s, I had the challenge of being a father, a man with 2 jobs to make ends meet, a new resident of Chicago, and by 3 years, I had managed to work into a supervisory position in a training program for Cook County Public Aid. I bought my first new car, a brand new '63 Thunderbird, and I was now a supervisor in the program, making decent money, driving the bus part-time, doing the best I could do to be a divorced father and to plot my career and life in Chicago. Many times I had many fun times with my daughter during those days. One of my favorite places of recreation was bars. And so many times with no place to take her, when I had custody of her on the weekend, I'd stop by the bar, talk to my buddies, and she liked to read. Her mother had taught her to read by 3 years old. She knew every beer label on a beer can or beer bottle. And my friends were always amazed when we stopped in the bar. She could say, Miller High Life, Budweiser, and go right down to her. We thought that was fun. She was a fun daughter, cute as she could be. By the time I think she was 4 years old and Cuttie was 2 and a half, her mother was teaching Head Start. Because we didn't have money for babysitter, my kids got to go to 4 or 5 sessions of Head Start. So by the time they were ready for kindergarten, everybody thought they were geniuses. I had to advise them, any kid that goes to Head Start for 4 or 5 times and enters kindergarten is going to appear a genius. So they're not geniuses. They have had a lot of redundancy in their education, and they had a mother who was basically a genius that taught them to read at 2 and 3 years old. She believed in the lap method. From small 2 or 3 month old, she would set them in their lap and read to them. She was a incredible teacher, a passionate reader, and she made certain that my kids read well before 4 years old. Consequently, when they went to school, neither of them had academic problems like I had. They were always at the top of the class. They always got honors and grades. And I think they attended school until Cuttie was probably about a 5th or 6th grader, and Cusha was probably 6 or 7, somewhere along in there. Their mother moved them to Decatur, Georgia, where they attended school until they were in high school. We had lots of fun with them visiting their fathers during the summer and me flying to Georgia. Outstanding incidents, I remember during those days they flew 747s. And if you booked a flight early before 7 a.m. in the morning, you could fly at tourist rates first class. I recall how much fun they had flying first class to visit their dad in Chicago, and the airline stewardess taking them to the lounge where my daughter Kusha played piano. She would entertain them and play piano while flying back from Atlanta to Chicago.
Was there stress between you and your wife when she made the move? Did you guys have any issues about the separation?
We somehow managed to agree to disagree. During those days, not being sophisticated, not having a sophisticated divorce lawyer, she had 100% sole custody. I signed away my rights, not knowing that I did not have the say-so in where they lived. So there was nothing to do but agree. If she says we're going to Georgia, you're going to Georgia. I'll do my best. We'll do our best to be the parents we can be. And so I worked very hard not to have conflict around the kids, and she was generous in the amount of time they spent with me. Whatever amount of time I picked them up and took them was perfectly okay. So it was approximately 6 to 8 years of them living in Decatur, Georgia, me flying to Georgia to visit occasionally 3 or 4 times a year for graduation, for major events, baseball games sometimes, and them flying here.